Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel again. I've finally gotten all my suspension pieces and things that I need to put the front back together. I'm actually still waiting on the rear subframe to come back from powder coating, but once I have that, I should be able to reassemble the rear and put the rear in. But as you can see, my garage is a disaster. And so it's pretty hard getting around and all this stuff, so I want to at least put the front suspension in. That way I can clean up a little bit of the area that I've got. So today's video is putting the front suspension back in. Follow along. So I actually went ahead and did the front left already, and as you can see, it is all back together again. And the Brembo big brake kit is on, looking beautiful. These are two-piece rotors from Z1 Motorsports, and these are an AMG E55 AMG 8-piston caliper that I had refinished. And then down under here, SPL tension rods. Everything is fresh, looking beautiful. Alright, let's get to it. So I got the front hub and knuckle assembly all laid out here because I'm getting ready to put all new parts in it. This is the order, so this is the outside, obviously. This is the right knuckle. Back to front, this is the order. You have the seal, you have the circlip, then you have the wheel bearing that goes inside, then that is kept in place by the front circlip. Then you have this dust shield that gets pressed on, then you have another seal that goes on, and then finally you actually have the hub that gets pressed into the wheel bearing, and then the whole thing gets reassembled. So it'll go from this to that. All reassembled, the knuckles put back together. So the only thing left to do now is put the seal back in, and then I can start reassembling the front suspension. But the new front wheel bearing is in, new hub. Yeah, that's going to be really nice. Yet to be determined if I need to trim some more off of this dust shield, because I actually have on this other one, here, I actually have the big brake kit bracket assembled and put on, and as you can see, it overlaps just a little bit. Now the rotor I test fit on here, and it looks like it will fit okay, and actually has some space, but I might actually just do a little bit more grinding and cut it directly up here, just so that way the that this will actually tuck back up and behind it. Yeah, but anyway, pretty exciting. I'm going to actually start putting this together now. The whole front suspension is going to go on today. Let me show you all the pieces laid out. Alright, so let me do a quick, I laid out all the parts that are going back onto the suspension now that everything's been refreshed. The upper control arm, or the upper camber arm, is actually already attached on there. Sitting up in here, lower it down. Alrighty, this one is already on and in place, but the rest of the stuff needs to be put in. The rest of this is going to get put in and attached to that. So the refinished upright is going to get attached to the new knuckle and hub and wheel bearing assembly. I got a new inner and outer tie rod. These are OEM, actually this is a reproduction, but this is an OEM Nissan outer. Refinished the lower control arms. I've got a new OEM Nissan inner ball joint. I have the new, this is a new lower outer ball joint that's already been put onto the hub. Then I got the nice bits up here. SPL Parts tension arms. And the SPL, I forget what they call this thing, but it's basically a brake air. It's basically an air guide that's supposed to funnel cool air into the brakes. So that is going to go on as well. All these pieces are going to go on here in just a few minutes. I'll start filming it here. Let's get to it. Alright, so I got the tie rods out. I wanted to just show you how bad of a shape they were in. These cars are really old, so you guys need to be, if you haven't already done this and you feel like your steering's a little sloppy, just do it. A lot of people actually only replace the outer tie rod because it has a ball joint on it, but I would recommend actually replacing the inner as well, because you can look and see. I mean, look and see how easy this thing flops around here. That ball joint is shot. This one, on the other hand, nice and tight. So replace the inners and the outers. It'll make your steering feel a lot better. Alright, so I got most of the stuff laid out here. The front hub is reassembled, and I put this back on, but I torqued this down and put the cotter pin in. So I've got the coil over here. This is going to go in, and then the tension rod, lower control arm, new lower inner ball joint. The lower outer ball joint I've already attached onto the knuckle. And then this is the new outer tie rod, new inner tie rod, and all that stuff is going to go in right now. But I think before I do that, the very first thing I'm going to do is put on the new lower inner ball joint, torque it down, put the axle in, and then I will put that in. Then I'll start to assemble all these other pieces. So let's do that. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the new inner ball joint in. And I got it right here. This is a brand new one from Nissan. And it is held in by 4 14mm nuts. So you're just going to place it in here like this. And then get these threaded on. We'll torque them down here in a minute. It says 46 to 58 foot-pounds is the range. So I have my torque wrench set to 55. We'll go with that. Get this one put in. Alright, torque wrench. Let's get these set. Alright, all set. I'm going to leave this on for now. I'll take that off when we get the lower control arm put on. Alright, now I got my axle here. And we will get this lined up. And put it back in. There, like that. And then get a little tap like that. And now it's reseated. Just like that. It's got that little C-clip in there that holds it in. So that's good. That's reseated. Now we're good. Alright, now it's time for our newly refinished lower control arm to go in. I'm going to take this nut off. And get this placed up under here. And push that up. Put that nut back in place. We're going to go with the torque wrench and set that up. We're going to tighten this down, and then we're going to go and place in the knuckle. Alright, now it's time to put the knuckle in. Alright, place that in the lower control arm so that it rests on there. And then we're going to connect this to the upper here. Put our bolt through. Alright, now we're going to put the axle through. There we go. Put that in the lower control arm. Now we're good. Put the castle nut on the bottom, ball joint. Everything's just finger tight at first. We're going to go back through and torque everything down here. Alright, now we're going to put our coilover in and snug it up. Now I'm just holding the knuckle up with my knee so that I can reach up and put these up here on the top. Okay, that's on. Now I'm going to put this back on. Spacer and this. You leave this loose because you're actually going to tighten this down at the very end when the wheel's on the ground, because you need to put a tremendous amount of torque on this one. Alright, we're going to leave it like that for now. Then I got this fancy tension rod from SPL Parts. Now what you have to do with this, let me loosen that for a second. These you actually have to measure because they're adjustable. And you know what, let me show you how I did that actually. Alright, so I got these laid out side by side, and what you had to do is basically get them measured right next to each other. And then see what you can. Basically what I did was I had the bolt stuck in here, and then I measured them to where these basically would attach to the lower control arm. And it's not going to be perfect because the car is going to get in alignment anyway, but I got it as close as I could just in order to get it to put together, and then I'll get it to the alignment shop. We'll get it all straightened out. By the way, these are offset. It looks like the small side goes to the outside of the vehicle because that has the least amount of angle that it puts on this rose joint. If you put this big end, on the outside, then it looks like it puts this rose joint in a much greater angle. I looked around online, I didn't see a whole lot about it, so that's how I'm going to go with it. If I end up needing to change it and redo it later, I will. Alright, let's go get the tension rod put in. There, goodness. Alright, so also another thing to point out, you need to make sure that you have the brake. These are air guides for the brakes, which I have some. They actually need to be trimmed because they hit this thing. But you need to have these bolts facing towards the outside. There's also this little blue adjuster pin, that's an Allen head key. That needs to be facing down. That way you can tighten it up when you get to it. Then place that up on the top there. Leave this loose and out of the way. Alright, so now everything is kind of put in there and mocked up. Everything is a little bit loose now, so I just need to actually go back through and torque everything down. The way that I do it is basically start from the top, and I'll get all my torque settings, and I will start here. I'll torque these bolts, then I'll work my way down, and I'll do the one here that holds the bottom part of the strut. I'll torque that down, then I'll move over here. I will torque the lower control arm at the inner ball joint, then I will torque these down right here for the tension rods, then I will torque down this lower control arm nut at the outer ball joint, and then I will torque this down, and then I'll snug all these pieces up, The sway bar I will leave loose, and I will leave this loose as well, because the sway bar you actually have to adjust the end link when the car is sitting on its suspension. So I will leave the front sway bar detached for now. I'll adjust all that length and then we'll go. All right, so this is pretty much it here. I'm gonna just go ahead and get all this stuff torqued down now, and then I'll pick it up again when I replace the inner and outer tie rods, and I'll show you what I'm doing with that. All right, next step here is to get this inner and outer tie rod off. It's a 22mm to break it free, which I have just done and hit it with a hammer. So it's broken free now. And I'm just loosening this nut. And you only need to loosen it just a small amount. Then you can take this back out. Okay, just let that hang. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to actually count the number of rotations, because this is pointed vertical. So let's count the number of rotations to get this thing free. Oh, it's tough. It's on there pretty tight, huh? Alright, let's try this again. Oh, I love old rusty parts. Yep, the other side came free, no problem. This one, a little bit more difficulty, huh? There we go, now it's free. Alright, let's try that now. 25, so basically 25 turns to get that free. Just look how busted this thing is. I mean, it's completely shot. I mean, you should not be able to move these by hand this easily. And then this, I mean, look at that. That thing is just, it's junk. 30-year-old tie rods, you got to get rid of them. All right, let's get this nut off of here and get that boot off. So I have completely new inner tie rod and outer tie rod and new boots. All of that will go on. And then we'll get it tightened down. And then we will be mostly done. Then I'll be able to fit the big brake kit bracket on this side. And not too long after that, hopefully my rear subframe will be back this week, and I'll put the rear suspension in next weekend. Alright, that is off. Old boot coming off. Yeah, look at that thing. I mean, that thing is junk. It's time to remove this inner tie rod. I have a tie rod, inner tie rod removing tool that I'll put a link down in the description. But it comes with these little fancy feet that you can put on there that basically grab a hold of the sides. You slip this guy down over the top and you snug it in like this. Okay. Then you can just break it free. It's got a 1/2 inch end, so I'm going to throw my 1/2 inch breaker bar on here and break it loose like that. This thing's a heck of a tool. It does a great job. There we go. Old tie rod out. So here's the old tie rod and a new tie rod side by side. I just marked them out. I already checked it because I did the other side already, but I just wanted to show you that they are the exact same length, which is good. That makes calculation a little bit easier. Like I said, I'll be getting a new alignment for the car anyway, but you're just trying to get it as close as you can until you get the alignment done. So that'll get thrown out. This will get put on, and then I'll put the new tie rod end on it as well. So we're going to thread that in, get it tightened down, and keep going. Put that on, take this off for a second. Get this piece tucked in. Okay, so that's tightened down now. Let's put our boot on. This comes with a new clamp. These metal clamps. Put it on your boot like that. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to tuck it in here first. Up on the top. Push the boot down. All the way up. It's 25 revolutions, so we're going to do that. Starting there. 22, 23, 24, 25. Tighten that down. Let's get this in the right spot. Get that pushed up in there. I'm going to tighten this down, torque it down, and then put the new cotter pin in. And then I'm going to tighten this nut down. I'm going to get these boots cinched back up, and then I'll show you everything at the very end. Suspension's all torqued down, everything's good. Only thing that's left now are to set the end links for the sway bar, and then to set this. I'm going to make a separate video of me installing the big brake kit, so you can stay tuned for that one. Tie rods are installed, torqued down, and new cotter pins on everywhere. Yeah, nice. I won't have to. Hopefully, I won't have to touch this suspension for another 20 years. Old inner and outer tie rods are going to go in the bin. Here's the tool that I was using. I wanted to show it to you. It's a Harbor Freight tool. I think I paid about 40 bucks for it. But these little spacers go over the top of the, these little spacers go over the inner part of the tie rod, and then you take this and then you slip it over. You can see all the way down through. You slip that down over the tie rod, and then it goes in over top like this, and it locks in. So you take it and put it on over top like that. It locks in, and then you put your 1/2 inch right here and then twist it free, and it's good. Really handy. Alright, that's going to do it for this one. I'm sweating like a champ. Yeah, we're getting a little closer. Hopefully the rear suspension will be in next weekend, and then hopefully not too long after that I'll be firing this thing up and going for a drive. Thanks for watching the video. Hopefully it was helpful for you. Make sure to subscribe to see the rest of the project here for the Skyline. I'll see you in the next one.